Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to the Level 6 Liquid Lunch. I'm Pat Quinney, your wonderful host. I'm also the sales manager here at Level 6, and as always, I'm joined with by Stig Larson, the fearless owner of Level 6. Stig, how you doing?
I'm doing great today.
Awesome.
Doing great. Our first one, it's kind of our premiere. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We have Jesse behind the camera right now.
Yep.
He's unfortunately just funny looking, so we don't have him in front of the camera.
It's actually better. You cannot diss Jesse because then he'll start putting bunny ears on our faces as we go.
Can't do that.
Alright, well,
But he is the guy behind the scenes, so we've got our dream team here, the three of us. And like we said, we're very excited. It's the first episode of the Liquid Lunch. So the Liquid Lunch, for those of you guys that don't know, is basically once a month we're going to get together and we're going to pick a topic of discussion and we're going to go through kind of the whole gambit and just discuss whatever we want to discuss. So today we're discussing our spring checklist for paddling. But before we get to that, I want to introduce our new partner. So we have...
Yes, very funny how it happened so quickly.
Yeah, we have a new partner. We have the Whitewater Brewery, or the Whitewater Brewing Company on board.
Yep.
I've known the guys for a long time. So I actually used to live with the two Chris's and James, who started the Whitewater Brewery. They're awesome dudes, and they make incredible beer. The whole team there is just amazing. So they're a really successful brewery in Cobden, which is in the Ottawa Valley in the heart of the Whitewater region. These guys are paddlers. They eat, sleep, breathe paddling, and they also make delicious beer. So it was kind of like a perfect partner to have. So we're really stoked to have them on board. And what we're going to do at the end of the episode, or towards the end, we're going to do a little bit of a beer review. So
yeah, they're going to give us beer that they've either seasonal they have for the month that kind of lines up with our Liquid Lunch, or just other beers that we haven't even sampled before. So and just before we go down that route, the Whitewater Brewing Company, it's pretty funny because Level 6 started on the banks of the Ottawa River. I used to be a raft guide up there before I started this company.
So was I.
So are you.
Yeah.
and so are the two Chris's. And so here we have Level 6 has grown, Whitewater Brewery's grown. It's just fun to keep it all kind of together in-house. So here are two brands that kind of born and raised on the Ottawa River. Yeah,
paddlers, and and we've got a few projects coming down the line. We'll release those to you as we know more, but we have some projects coming down the line with them. So what we're drinking today is their Icebreaker Brute IPA, and it's pretty fitting because ice is going to be breaking off the rivers around here and lakes. I know Western Canada is basically already starting to paddle. They have a lot of warm weather, and if you're near the ocean, you've been paddling this whole time. So it's really fitting. So let's crack our
I'm
beers.
ready for this.
We'll do a bit of a review at the end, but cheers.
Yeah, cheers to the first one.
Yeah.
Of course it's good.
Tasty. Yeah.
Of course.
I don't think they've ever made a bad beer. So, like I said, we're discussing spring checklist for paddling. A few things we'll go over. We'll give you a quick overview. I'll give you guys a quick overview, but we're basically going to go through kind of when you open your gear bag, what do you need to look for? I know a lot of people get excited and they just kind of head straight towards the river, and then they get there and they're like, oh crap. None of my stuff actually, or some of the stuff is broken, or
I put it away wet, and now there's a living creature inside. It's moldy. It's disgusting.
Or I broke something last year, and then I just put it in my gear bag and forgot about it. And you get to the river, and you're kind of hooped. So we're gonna try and get ahead of that for you guys. Cover what we look for. Just full disclaimer: we're whitewater paddlers. We're certainly, I stand up paddleboard, and I've done some sea kayak trips. We're going to try and make this an inclusive thing for all paddling disciplines, but just bear with us here. We're whitewater paddlers. That's what we know most. So,
and we're also going to play a bit of devil's advocate too. Like, there's many different ways to get on the water in the spring. I come from a slalom racing background, so for me, less is more, minimalistic. I really enjoy not being restricted by gear or having too much on. Maybe to the sacrifice of a bit of safety, where I think, Pat, you come from more the expedition. You've done some Grand Canyon trips where safety is paramount. Maybe you sacrifice a bit of the mobility in order to be 100% sure that you're not going to die on this trip.
Definitely. I come from a guiding background too, so like I kind of just prepare for the worst and prepare for other people not being fully prepared. So I'm a little neurotic in that sense. But so I guess what we'll start with is some of the items, we'll just start between dry wear and wetsuits. Let's start there. Yeah, so some people like to use wetsuits, some people like to use dry wear. There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm personally a dry wear guy. Are you a dry wear guy too?
I'm a dry wear guy too. I mean, wetsuits they have their place. Mm-hmm. You see it a lot where if you don't mind being wet, wetsuits are great because it's like adding an extra layer of fat to your skin.
Totally.
The problem is when it's this cold out that you got to put a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 mil wetsuit on, and then you lose the mobility. So you're not really enjoying your paddling, and also neoprene doesn't breathe. So say it's one of those days we get in Ottawa where it's plus 10 or 15, but the water's plus 2. Mm-hmm. And, if it's beating down in a black wetsuit, you start to sweat inside. You kind of get that greasy, kind of slimy feel. So
totally.
That's why it's always nice to have a breathable garment.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I find I swim better in wetsuits. When I used to teach Swiftwater rescue courses, I would always do a wetsuit just because you feel like a sea lion. You're just like...
it's actually buoyant, right? Yeah. And a thick neoprene wetsuit actually helps you float.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter too. So there is the pros to it. Yeah. This time of year, especially in our area, being in Canada, being in the northern part of Canada, I guess, we're pushing the north. Wearing a wetsuit when there's ice and stuff just getting off the river, like you said, you need a 7 mil wetsuit. So that's a big investment, and you're kind of going parallel to dry wear at that point. Yep. So pros and cons to it. You can pee yourself. If you're wearing a wetsuit, you can just pee straight in the wetsuit. You can't do that in your dry suit or in your dry pants. That's pretty gross.
They have relief zippers, so I mean it certainly allows that, but you need to get... Well, ideally, you can get out of your boat to do that.
Totally. So with dry wear, let's jump into that as far as what to wear underneath it. So dry wear, just for those of you guys that don't know, or maybe you're getting into paddling and you want to know a little bit more about dry suits, there's I guess an assumption that dry suits are insulating. They definitely are not. No. They're literally just to keep you dry. It's a fairly thin piece of nylon. Our dry suits come in 3-ply nylon. Yeah. So essentially it's like a barrier, almost like a sweatsuit, if you want to call it that.
The way I try to explain to people is that, the breathable membrane is like your skin. And then when you start insulating underneath it, it's kind of, like we talked about the neoprene, it's like the fat underneath. So, if you had no fat, your skin would be against your bones, you get cold. Mm-hmm. So when you're putting like a layer, like a fleece or a unisuit underneath it, that kind of gets the material off of your skin and creates a barrier where warm air can kind of collect.
Totally.
And then basically keep you warmer.
Yeah, and when you're layering underneath your dry wear, in water sports, you always got to assume that you're going to get wet. Even if you're wearing a dry suit, obviously you don't want to get wet when you're wearing a dry suit. Obviously it's not doing its job if that's the case. But you always got to prepare for if you're going to get wet. And now a lot of people will wear like a cotton shirt and stuff like that. Not good. Cotton actually doesn't insulate when you're wet, so you want to wear synthetic layers. So any sort of polypropylene or wool or merino wool has been very popular in the outdoor wear world right now. So those are the kind of items you're looking for.
You basically want something that absorbs no moisture.
Yeah.
And so you use the word wet, and generally in dry wear, you're getting wet from your own perspiration. Mm-hmm. So like a cotton shirt, it absorbs moisture, and that wetness sticks against your skin. It gets cold because the cold water is touching the outside of the fabric, and then that water gets cold, and then your skin gets cold.
Yeah.
Where if you have polyester or polypropylene, I think it absorbs 0.01% of its weight in water. It just gets the moisture off your skin, gets it to the outer side of the fabric where the membrane can breathe it through.
Yeah.
So you stay drier.
Yeah, and wool is actually an insulator when it's wet.
Okay.
A few people know that, but...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there you go. You're one of the few people. So yeah, it is actually an insulator when you get it wet. Con, obviously, is it collects a lot of water, so you get a lot of weight on that. Right. So if you're wearing like a wool sweater, you'll be warm, but you're going to be really heavy. Right. So you kind of want to avoid that, especially in this day and age where in 2019 going on 2020, everything's about lightweight and compact and small. So few items that we make in terms of base layers. We make a hot fuzz unisuit. So I'm going to stand up here. Bear with me. So we make this wonderful one-piece fleece suit. Stig, do you want to tell us a little bit about the weight of the fleece?
So when we designed this garment, it's actually a couple different fabrics woven into one. And the idea is that we wanted to achieve like a 300 weight fleece, which is how Patagonia used to rate their fleeces, R1, R2, R3. The higher the R value, the more insulation. Unfortunately, in paddle sports, the thicker the fleece, the more cumbersome it is to paddle in. Kind of get that bulky feel, which I always hate. So we created this, which has the feeling of a 1.5, like an R1.5 or 150 weight fleece, but it has the insulating value of a 300 weight fleece. And we do that by, combining a couple of different fabrics and how it's, I don't want to get too much in the details, but the high pile on the inside allows the moisture to come through and create that air barrier that you need to create the higher R value. Yeah. So that's kind of how this goes.
This would be a great piece for as a base layer for underneath your dry wear.
Yeah.
Dry suit or dry pant, dry top combo. So whatever, that's going to be the insulating factor there. So we know that. What do you wear in terms of footwear? Are you wearing like ski socks or wool socks?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I tend to go the lightweight minimalistic view. I go thinner, the smaller footwear, the better for me. I'm 6'3". For me, getting in and out of whitewater boats already is a bit of a cumbersome thing. Mm-hmm. So I choose, like, we have a river boot and a creek boot are our two pieces of footwear. I go the river boot way because I'm not doing expeditions where I need to be, on rocky terrain. For me, I'm just getting to the, in Ontario, most of the river access is pretty straightforward. Southern Ontario. So for me, the river boot is way better. It squeezes into my boat better. We actually designed those with Tyler Curtis, awesome dude and paddler.
TC, cheers.
TC. So we work with him on those, and it's been one of our best-selling pieces of footwear because it was designed with playboaters in mind. Mm-hmm. That's my personal choice. I know that you might choose something a bit heavier weight.
Yeah, so when I'm layering up, and we'll kind of
I'll show that too, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
River boot. There it is. Super thin and lightweight, just so you can kind of see a comparison to what I'm into versus what Pat's into.
Yeah, so we have the creek boot here, and we'll highlight these again later when we go into like outer footwear. But as far as like insulating, I go wool socks, and then I'll do my dry suit or dry pant, and then I'll put a neoprene sock on top of that to keep my dry suit protected. Again, we'll touch base on that later. And then I go with the actual shoe. I'm a skate shoe. Okay. I used to wear the Tevas a lot. I just like having an actual shoe. I've been in situations where you need to evac somebody off the side of the river, and you're hiking through some cumbersome territory or bush crashing, and having an actual shoe makes a big difference. Yeah. So that's what I go. It's kind of a pain in the butt when you're in a playboat, and so playboat is like a smaller boat designed for surfing, and so I don't fit in that way. But usually I just kind of tuck them in the back of my boat, and then when I get out, I put them on. So yeah, those are. That's base layers. So next we'll get into our dry wear, and we'll highlight that. So dry wear, a few things we're going to cover here. Just to recap, dry wear is what you should be looking for when you pull out your dry suit or your dry top from your bag. And then we'll kind of discuss the pros and cons. I know you're more of a dry top, dry pant combo guy. I'm more of a dry suit guy, so we can kind of go back and forth on that and see where we're going. So when you pull out your gear, it's really important to just check everything. Like I said in the intro, just running to the river, I know it's very exciting and you make plans to go paddling, but you need to do a bit of an inventory and check the integrity of your gear, because this is your first line of defense, especially in cold water. In the spring, you've got big water, so you're usually dealing with high water. Really cold water, and you have cold temperatures too. So it's the risks are way bigger in the spring. So you need to be conscious of that, and you're only as protected as your gear allows you to be. So what I do when I pull out my gear bag, open it up, I'll take my dry wear, and I'll check gaskets. That's the first thing. A lot of people will get to the river and like, my neck gasket is fucking busted. And it's like,
or melted
or whatever, or it's loose and you should have replaced it in the fall, but you didn't, and you just tucked it away and pulled out your skis and went into winter mode, which I've done. Like everyone does it, but it's you need to check that stuff, because that is the integral part of keeping you dry when you're wearing a dry suit or a dry top. And then the next thing you should do is flip it inside out and make sure that all the seam tape is good to go. So a lot of the time, if you store your gear wet, the glue on our seam tape or on all seam tape is water soluble, so it actually peels up and it doesn't
well, you get
stick
the mold
anymore.
Inside there, and the mold gets underneath the fabric and then just kind of grows and just lifts up and festers.
Totally. Yeah, so a few ways to fix that is you can take an iron. It's all heat activated glue, so you can actually just run a hot iron on a cotton setting over top of it. Obviously keep the iron moving. You don't want to melt the fabric, but it'll stick right back down good as new, or take some aqua seal to it if it's giving you a lot of trouble. So definitely do a full walkthrough of your gear. Make sure the seam tape is good. Make sure your gaskets are okay, and make sure there's no holes or anything in your dry wear, because you definitely don't want water getting in there, especially when it's cold and you're paddling more demanding whitewater. It's funny, in whitewater or in paddling in specific, we end up going. It's not like skiing where you can kind of ease your way into it in the winter. You can start on like some green runs and some stuff. It's you kind of just get thrown right into the gauntlet, right? It's
kind of reverse. It goes big in the spring, and then as the water levels drop, then it actually gets easier.
Yeah, so definitely want to make sure that
in Canada anyway.
In Canada, anyways, yeah. So yeah, you want to make sure that your gear is good to go. So your dry wear. So you check your gaskets and you check your seam tape.
Yeah.
If that's good. The next thing you want to do, what I always do, is just treat my stuff with durable water repellent finish. So I have a bottle of it here. We sell it. You can find it on our website, but you can go to your local gear shop. They'll have it. It's great for your hiking jacket, your raincoat, anything that's waterproof, breathable. Treat it a couple times a year. I always treat mine at the start of the year, and then I try and treat it midway through the year or at the end of the year. So in case I forget to do it in the spring, then it's already been treated. And this is an integral part to the waterproofing, right?
I was going to say, the bit of the science behind this is when fabric is made, it has a DWR, which is like a chemical treatment that's applied to the fabric, surface fabric at the beginning. But over time, especially for paddlers, dirty water, silty water, the wear and tear, bug spray, it just breaks that down. And then as it breaks down, it just channels water into the face fabric. And as that face fabric wets out, it creates a barrier that doesn't allow your actual dry suit to breathe anymore, because it can't breathe against a layer of water. It can breathe against a layer of air. That's why garments are so hard to create a perfectly breathable, waterproof garment for paddle sports versus like climbing Mount Everest. We always make that comparison. It's dry, it's super thin air, no humidity. It'll breathe forever.
Yeah.
But you're in an environment where you're wet, sweating, and you're wet, and outside you're trying to push your moisture through the membrane into a even wetter environment.
Yeah.
So it's important to do that stuff.
Definitely, yeah. And then a few other things that you might want to consider is we have a zipper cleaner / lubricant.
Yeah.
So all of our dry wear zippers are YKK plastic zippers. You just want to clean it, make sure there's no sand and just crap on it in general. You get a lot of oil and stuff on it.
And sand gets in that little fin that actually creates the waterproof seal. Sand gets in there, the fin breaks down. It's not great for long term.
Yeah. And then the other thing you want is a little bit of lubricant for your zipper. So you just put it a little bit in the housing. Like this tube should last you a few years. You definitely don't want to use the whole tube on one go. So you just put it in the housing and then open and close that zipper a bunch. It lubricates the zipper up and just make sure that it's functioning properly. Another thing that you could consider is the Pro Cleaner. So it just takes dirt and stuff off of the actual nylon garment, and you just or if you don't want to go this route, you can just take like a mild detergent, mild dish soap,
Woolite.
Yeah, and
Big
you just
bucket.
Rub it with a cloth. Don't put it through the wash. Definitely don't put it in the dryer. Always hang dry your stuff. Air dry it. It's just. That's the way the garment works, and that's the best
multiple
way to care for it.
rinsings too. A lot of people they don't rinse it enough, so the soap stays in that face fabric, which are basically creating those little channels that we just talked about with the dirt. Now it's just soap crystals, and it just channels the moisture through that face fabric, and then it wets out again. Yeah,
so that's how to care for your dry wear. It's an important step. It's a big investment. Sure. Like a lot of people are kind of shocked at the initial price tag on a dry suit or a dry pant, dry top combo, and it is a big investment initially, but it lasts you a long time if you take care of it. It's only as good as what you put into it, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing with a car. If you bought a brand new car and never changed the oil in it, eventually it's going to crap out and explode. Yes. So you need to make sure that you're changing the oil, that you're doing maintenance to the item. Yeah. One more thing that I'm going to highlight is a pair of neoprene socks. I can't stress this enough. When you buy a dry suit or dry pants, the weakest point is where it's going to get the most use, which is where you're walking, right? So if you get any sort of sand or grit, especially on riverbanks, you get a lot of sand and silt and stuff. And if that's just rubbing against the fabric, it just acts like sandpaper. And eventually you end up with micro leaks. And then you'll end up, the whole bottom of your dry suit sock or dry pant sock is leaking. So the easiest way to keep all that sand and grit out is just to get a pair of neoprene socks. So we have the slate socks here, and then we also have the proton sock, a little lower of a price point. This is what I would suggest anybody purchases. If you're going to buy a dry suit or dry pants,
something to protect the socks.
Buy neoprene socks. Yeah, for sure. You might need to buy a size bigger too. And so I have a couple pairs. So I have one for in the summer when I just want to have neoprene socks. And I also have a set for any dry wear. So that's just a size bigger, so I can fit everything underneath there.
Yep, makes sense.
So that's dry wear in terms of how to care for it. Like I said, I'm a dry suit guy, and the reason I'm a dry suit guy is because I like staying totally dry. There's nothing like getting in your boat or getting out of your boat. Yeah, a little soft. You might say. Yeah. But that's why I like dry suits. I also find them just way more warm and comfortable and convenient. You just put this one suit on and you're good to go paddling. But there is the con that it's not very versatile. I can only wear it in the spring and in the fall, or in the winter if I'm paddling, which I don't do anymore. But you're more of a dry
I'm more of the dry top, dry pant guy, or even dry top and a pair of our Pro Guide neoprene lined shorts. I think we paddle differently. Like, as I've gotten older, I paddle like Park and Play, or I paddle the Ottawa, where you go, and if something happens, like you're right there. You're not stuck in the middle of nowhere, where you need to, where survival is not an issue. If you swim, you're back on shore.
You can get to a warm car.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I'm like the minimalistic approach. I like. Our Duke dry tops are my favorite because when I designed that, I wanted a lightweight top for paddling because I hate that restriction.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, paddling since I've been 12 years old, I don't swim. I knock on wood now. I haven't swum in a long time. Yeah. Hate tweet me now.
Yeah.
I haven't swum in a long time, so generally, and if I do swim, the consequences aren't bad. I'm always paddling with buddies. So if I do swim, I can get to shore. If I break a paddle or something like that. But having said that, I did the Middle Fork of the Salmon trip a couple years ago with the canoe kayak guys and Eric Boomer, and it was raining the whole time. It flooded to 8 on the gauge. It was heavy, class 4, 4.5, and I wore a dry suit the whole time, and it was awesome.
Yeah, great for expeditions.
You're wet, and you go to bed, and it's raining the whole day. You come out, and you're still wet. You put your dry suit on, and you actually dry out throughout the day.
Yeah.
So it was nice. That was for me a must.
Yeah.
But I don't do those trips very often.
Day trips now.
Yeah, it's day trips now. So for me, dry top, dry pant combo is perfect, or dry pant and board shorts, to be honest with you. Even when it's 10 degrees out and the water's 4, I'll still wear dry top and a pair of board shorts here in Ottawa, because I know that if something happens, my car is right there and I'm good to go.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the versatility of the two-piece option is great too. So if you're making an investment and you want to start paddling in the spring, you need the protection. So dry top combo is also fully acceptable. You will get a bit of water in there if you go for a swim. You won't flood. You won't be totally weighed down, but you will get a trickle of water in there. It's not like you're going to be soaked by any means.
Yeah, you have time to get rescued and get back to shore. Yeah, you're going to be wet, maybe in your lower half, but it's not going to ruin your day.
No, but the versatility aspect of it is also great, right? So, if you towards May, early June, when the water's still kind of cold but the air's warm, you just wear your dry top, and you're not. So, like I said, the dry suit, you're only using it a couple months of the year.
So we are anyway. I mean, maybe out west where it's glacier runoff, hardcore creeking. If you swim, or the chance of swimming is high, you need to stay warm.
Yeah.
Because the water is going to be 4 degrees all the time.
Definitely.
So for sure, that's a dry suit. We're Easterners. You know, we get blessed with massive water and warm water.
Yeah. So those are your options for dry wear. We make a bunch of it. We've got the Emperor dry suit hanging back here. Then we also have our breakwater bib pants and our Nebula dry top. We've got, that's like not even a quarter of what we make in terms of like dry wear. We make so much different stuff. So check out the website. If you don't know our website, it's level6.com. And just take a look. We've got videos highlighting all the features, so we won't get too in depth into that. Next, we get into hand and footwear. So I'm a mitt guy. I know some people like gloves because of dexterity and tying knots or whatever, or texting when you're on the river, because that's a thing now. But I'm a mitt guy. I just find them so much warmer, and I'm just holding onto a paddle. It's not like I'm, you know, doing anything with my hands. I'm just holding onto a paddle and paddling. So we have a few different options. So we have
the pogies as well. Don't forget that.
Pogies as well, yeah.
I'm a pogie guy because I came from the slalom racing background, and for me, having connection with that paddle all the time is the most important. And once you go from direct connection to a mitt or a glove, you're kind of adding 2-3 millimeters of neoprene distance between your actual hand and the paddle shaft. So yeah, you kind of lose a bit, but I think you're a mitt guy. I'm a pogie guy for sure, but then I also, the gloves, if I'm gonna wear, I go with the gloves because then I find that you can actually do things with them when you're putting your spray skirt on, or you're tightening your back band. The glove gives you a bit more of that dexterity.
Some people really like the dexterity, which I totally get. So yeah, we've got a few different types of gloves. So we've got 2 series in terms of our neoprene accessories. So we've got the Metamorphic series, which is what I'm holding here is the Granite glove. It's part of our Metamorphic series. Now this is a 3 mil neoprene, and it also comes with liquid sealed seams. So it's actually waterproof, which is pretty cool. Like you can fill this thing up with water, and water does not come through. And if you're wearing it, you don't actually feel the water. And then we have our Particle series, which is a thinner neoprene, right? This is a 2 mil neoprene. It's a different foam. We won't get too technical with you guys here, but this is actually one of our best-selling gloves, and the reason being is it's just so soft and comfortable. This is super high stretch. So this is a medium, and I usually wear an XL, but this stuff stretches so much I can easily fit my hands in there. It's pretty wicked. So check those out online. Those are hand wear options. And then the pogies, they basically just attach your paddles. You slide your hands in there. It's like a neoprene windbreaker, essentially.
Yeah, water gets in and gets your hands wet, but it keeps the wind off. But you're giving up a bit of warmth, but you get the connection with the paddle. I mean, if it is, we have a classic surf wave here in Otter Champlain, and when it's super windy, pogies don't even work. It's just you need that full-on protection to envelop your hands. If it's not windy, but the water's cold, that's when pogies are great. And
pro tip from what I've learned with wearing neoprene hand accessories is when I first get my hands in the water and they get super cold, you know, like when you flip over and you get kind of brain freeze, you kind of get that with your hands. Take your gloves off. So do a couple surfs or whatever, or paddle one rapid, and then pull off to the side, take your gloves off, warm your hands up, put them in your hand warming pocket that all life jackets have now. We have them in our dry wear as well. And then put your gloves back on, and I actually find it kind of like resets. And you end up having warmer hands that way, instead of just like stuffing them in there and then powering through.
And that's how neoprene kind of works. It's meant to get a thin layer of water in there first, and then it heats up, and then that water stays warm, and it adds a little extra layer.
Cool. And then we pointed out our footwear here. So like I said, I wear shoes in early spring, where I used to when I was guiding a lot and teaching, just in case there was any sort of thing where I was hiking out, because terrain into rivers and lakes, especially around here, everything's super steep and you're climbing up rocks. But yeah, so 2 options. So you got a river boot. Around here, we do a lot of play boating. So I'm in a tiny boat meant for surfing. Like you said, you're 6'3". I'm also 6'3". I've got big feet.
You're not.
Let's go back to back. I've got big feet, so size 13 feet, and to put those in a play boat is already difficult enough. So I can't necessarily wear these creek boots unless I'm actually in a creek boat, in a bigger boat, bigger volume boat. So that's why these creek boots or these river boots are super awesome. They're super thin. They pack down to nothing, and they're great for stand-up paddleboarding too. So softer, you can feel your board underneath you, as opposed to a thicker sole like the creek boot, where you have a little bit more protection and stability there. But it's
I mean the nylon shank in here, I mean, it really hinders that kind of flex inside the boat, but it's great for super rocky shorelines where you don't want to have the rocks puncturing through into your feet. So I mean, I'm curious because I just got a Brap, a Logic Brap, so I'm super excited to get that outfitted, and I bet you're gonna fit for sure. Those. I mean that boat is perfect for me right now. So I'll probably be using these a bit on the Ottawa because the amount of snow we've had this year, it's ridiculous. So I bet you I won't even, I'll be walking through a foot or two of snow just to get to the river for a while.
Probably. So yeah, that takes care of our hand and footwear accessories. If you have any questions, I should have mentioned this at the start, but if you have any questions and you're tuned in live, type them in. Jesse, our ugly producer, will he will ask us the questions and we can answer them as we go. If not, later on for our next episode, feel free to send us questions via Instagram, Facebook Messenger, email, info@level6.com. Any way that you can, even Twitter, we check all of it. Just send us questions, or even
tweet
feedback.
us. Tweet us.
Yeah.
Hate tweets. Hate tweets still, please. I want one hate tweet.
We're definitely open. This is for, like we said in the teaser, this is for everyone. So any sort of interaction we can have with you guys, we're pretty laid back, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So if you want to chirp us, we're open. We might chirp back. We might say some really mean and hurtful things back. But we can get pretty personal here. But
I've got 2 daughters. I won't do that.
Yeah. Next thing we get into our PFD and helmet. So a few things you want to look for with your PFD. Make sure you have all the proper safety tools, especially for whitewater. You always want to have a knife. I know some people use paramedic shears. I'm more of a knife guy. And just make sure you have all like the safety accessories. So you want your knife on there. So in case you're messing around with ropes and you get tangled up in ropes, you want to be able to cut yourself out of that. You want to make sure you have a whistle. My first summer on the Ottawa, I remember paddling down Lower No Name, and I was a pretty weak paddler at this point, like swimming all the time. This was before I had like my roll down. And
still or was
okay, big was, but yeah, it was high water, and we went for a paddle after work, and next thing you know, we were playing at one of the rapids and surfing this one wave, and we just were having a good time. So we stayed out there way longer than we should have, and it started getting dark, and we were coming to the last rapid, Lower No Name, which gets pretty big. You have these big waves and big holes, and I ended up just getting thrashed and swam. And it was like 10 o'clock at night, pitch dark. So we were kind of playing Marco Polo, and I didn't have a whistle. I was, like I said, early spring, excited, didn't have all my gear lined up, it didn't have a whistle, so nobody could really find me, and it was just kind of a big mess. So
I've heard there's a bit of a trend with the glow sticks now. Like just having that in your life jacket, just in case you crack your glow stick,
then you can see somebody. Yeah, totally. It's important to think about these things. So a whistle, you want to make sure you have your safety belt and tow, your pigtail. We sell all those things as well. So that's just in case somebody swims and you need to tow their boat or whatever, or you need to do a rescue. I used to teach whitewater rescue, and you need to clip into somebody. So you want to make sure you have your life jacket outfitted with that. And then make sure your PFD is one floats. I know a lot of people will kind of not buy a new PFD.
Totally. Well, they're expensive, right? You'll freak out about it.
Yeah, totally.
It's your number one most important thing.
Yeah.
And people also, classic people, they paddle and they hang up on the clothesline, and the sun beats down on it all year. Nylon, it does not do well in sun.
No.
Polyester, it's better, but it's not great.
Yeah. And the integrity of the foam, it eventually does not work, and it shrinks and shrivels in the sun, and then you don't have the flotation that you once had.
We always say hang dry in the shade.
Yep.
Classic, and then put it there. But you go to anybody's paddling haunt, and you see this clothesline, the blaring sun. You see all these PFDs that are just faded, and you see the nylon pulling on the edge of the stitching. well, that's not going to work.
No. I remember getting my first PFD, and then like I was able to swim under like 2-3 rafts. Yeah. It's like I shouldn't be able to do this, and that's when I ended up, you know, switching and got a brand new PFD. So make sure your PFD floats. Yeah. That's your number one defense. So make sure you have that, and then helmet check too. Yes. Just especially for whitewater paddlers, you're wearing a helmet. Just make sure that you know you don't have any cracks, or if you took a big hit the previous year, the integrity of that helmet is compromised. So make sure you get a replacement. If you take any sort of big hit with a helmet, the foam could be broken. You may not be able to see it from the inside, but the actual foam shell will be broken, and you need to replace that helmet. It is no longer good.
It's like bike helmets. Same thing. You know, if you bike, they even say bike helmets after a couple of years, replace them anyway, just with a UV. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if the UV breaks down composite helmet in whitewater as much, but certainly worth checking into.
But yeah, like it's meant to disperse the impact, right? So if it's at all compromised, you could end up taking that on the noggin. Totally. And especially in this day and age, now that we know about CTE and now we know about the effects of concussions, it's just good to make sure that you're replacing your gear and taking good care of it.
And invest in good helmets. Like don't just go and get. I mean, I know there's that level 6 story about me floating around right now, and some of the images in the beginning, we wore hockey helmets, but that was it. There was nothing. There was no whitewater specific helmet.
We have the technology now.
Yeah, you used to go to Canadian Tire and buy like a cool Cooper hockey helmet. That's what you wore. That's what everyone wore.
I don't think there was ever a cool Cooper hockey helmet. What's that? You're dating yourself.
And then it slowly got better and better. I mean, there was times where people were like paddlers were making their own helmets that are composite. But I mean, there's so many good brands out there right now. I mean, Shred Ready, Tom. I've known him since I was 16, and he makes wicked, probably one of the most underrated helmet companies out there right now. The amount of energy that goes into making that helmet. Yeah. And they're great value for money.
Totally. Yeah. So go out, get yourself a new helmet if you've taken a big rap on the noggin. Yeah. Just do yourself a favor. Next, we'll get into spray skirts.
Yeah.
So
big debate here.
Well, yeah, there's
so many versions.
Totally, and you got to think about what works well for yourself as an individual, as a paddler. So spray skirt check. We'll start there. So there's 2 different types of spray skirts. So you have your bungee rand, and then you have your rubber rand.
Yeah, that's kind of the 2 split on the category from there.
Yeah.
And then from there you can go to neoprene, nylon, construction, all that jazz.
Yeah, we're going to kind of talk more neoprene. Like I said, our background is whitewater, so that's what we know best. That's what we're comfortable talking about.
We should talk about our touring decks as well, because that's a big portion of what people buy from us as well.
Totally, yeah. But what you're looking for your skirt is make sure that the rand isn't compromised. So make sure there's no nicks or chips in it. So with bungee, if you have like any sort of nick in it, it could actually just unravel and come undone, and then you don't have a skirt that's the integrity is compromised, and it can blow off at any point. Yeah. And then same with your rand. It can also split, and once that splits, it's really hard to come back from that. And you definitely don't want to put in on a river, especially if you're going to be paddling for 5 hours down like a class 4 section. Yeah. And if it's a whole day, you don't want your skirt busting on the first rapid, and then you're hooped for the rest of the time, or you have to hike out whatever distance halfway through the river.
You also see a lot of like kayak school instructors, you know, they do the boat over boat rescue, or, you know, back when Piranha kayaks had that ratchet system that was, and you could do it, if you were lazy, you could do it through the cockpit. And you'd do it, and it would just wear through the neoprene. Yeah. And the foam inside would split, but the 2 face fabrics that would laminate together, it would look like it was fine. Yeah. But then all it takes is like one big hit, and then that face fabric just kind of opens up a bit, and then now you have a hole in your skirt. Yeah. But the boat over boat rescues, that's classic. You're slamming a boat on top of a neoprene,
rubbing it across. Yeah. So you get holes and stuff like that, and that can split. Like with neoprene, once you get a nick in it, it can actually just keep tearing and keep splitting. So it's one of those slippery slope kind of things that you just want to make sure that your gear is good to go before you even get in the water.
And most neoprene as well, like that whole UV debate thing. I mean, most neoprene, to get a good outer layer that's abrasion resistant, you use nylon. Well, you know, nylon doesn't stand well up to the UV rays, so you get the UV just sucks out the integrity of that nylon, and then it just can split over time. So a really faded, if your skirt was black and now it looks brown, probably worth trading that in.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into kind of the rubber rand versus bungee debate. So bungee is great for play boating. a lot of people use it in the summer and stuff, especially where we're at on the Ottawa River, where it's just like warm, beautiful water, and you're surfing all day. And then there's the rubber end, which is more for like creaking. You don't want your skirt to implode, or actually what happens most, and people don't really realize it, but if you watch like somebody go over a waterfall in slow-mo and you look at their skirt, if they zoom in enough on it, it actually explodes. So it's when you have the impact of the boat hitting the water, all the air in the boat actually explodes out the cockpit, and most times when your skirt implodes, it's actually exploding. So you want to make sure that the stretch isn't compromised on your skirt. So what a lot of people do is they'll buy like a bungee rand or a rubber end, and it'll fit their boat perfectly for the first like 6 months, but eventually it stretches out, and it is susceptible to explosions. It's looser on the cockpit rim, so you want to make sure that that the stretch isn't compromised on your skirt. And then as far as
easier to get on and off too, I guess
there's the pros and cons. Like,
I know bungee, like majority of our touring, all of our touring skirts are bungee. Bungee works really well on composite boats where the cockpit rim is super defined and sharp. It locks underneath there. I mean, it is a bungee skirt on a composite boat is as strong as a rubber randed skirt on a rotomolded boat. Rotomolded cockpit rims are smoother, they're a bit more bulbous. It's hard for that bungee to really stick underneath there. Yeah, we silicone dots on the bottom for extra grip, and you pattern it in 3 dimensions, but it's never strong because the whitewater boats are so rounded, you just don't get that grip. Now, having said that, we sell our rubber randed skirts to a couple super high-end sea kayakers, like one in Norway, and
those are guys playing in the big surf,
exactly,
though, right?
Where you have that massive implosion, and they need that rubber rand. But the bungee is so much easier to get on. That's the pro of the bungee, is that if you're not paddling big drops, or you want a skirt that's surfing, having fun, a bungee skirt, it's like it goes on right away. Anyone can do it. Rubber rand, it's a bit of strength involved in there, and some people, when it gets cold out, the natural rubber that everyone uses, I think everyone uses it. We use a natural rubber rand that tends to mold to the skirt. If it's cold out, it just gets so stiff. It's hard to get on and off. So big water, cold weather, you try to pop that the rubber randed skirt on, it's hard to do.
When I was in the Grand Canyon a few years ago, in December is when we put it in. The air was really cold, and it was a bitch to get the skirt on, for sure. And I had to leave it on overnight just to make sure that it was properly stretched. It was also brand new out of the bag, so you kind of need to break it in a little bit, but
on that note too, if you do get a rubber rand skirt from anybody, like IR, Level 6,
Seals, Snapdragon.
Seals. I don't think Snapdragon makes rubber randed.
Oh yeah, okay.
You need to stretch it out a bit. There's a great video out there. I think John from IR did it. You kind of just pull the rubber rand a bit, just gotta kind of pre-stretch it, and then get it on your boat.
Pro tip: get it wet too, because that neoprene can be quite stiff.
Pro tip. I like it.
Pro tips.
Pro tip.
Jesse, get that locked in. Pro tip.
So that's kind of an overview of our skirts. We'll just show you quickly. So this is our jack. This is a bungee style skirt, so more for playboaters, just easier to get on and off. One of the pros that we forgot to mention was that it just, because bungee stretches so much, it makes, some people say it creates a better seal. I'm more of a rand guy personally, but it creates a better seal because it actually cinches right back down around your cockpit. So
and I think we talked about those little silicone dots to keep things going in. We print our logo on the inside, but these are all silicone. The idea is it sticks.
A little grip.
It sticks to your inside of your cockpit. So when you do have those hits of water coming in, it doesn't want to lift off as easily as if you didn't have that. So little things that we kind of do to make a bungee skirt as good as a rubber rand. As good as you can get it towards rubber rand as far as implosion resistance.
And just like a dry seal too. But as far as the dry seal goes, there's nothing like a rubber rand. So you can see how beefy this thing is here. This is the Ace, so this is our highest end skirt. We also have the King, a little bit more cost effective. I'm actually more of a King guy personally. But
we probably don't need this Armortex Kevlar. As much. You're not rescuing your buddies.
If you're an instructor, for sure you want to go with this because you're going to do boat rescues and stuff like that. So those are a couple of skirts that we have. We've got a bunch. I think we have probably almost 10 skirts in our line. So between sea kayaking and touring and recreational cockpit covers, and we have it all.
And all of our rec skirts are bungee randed. Generally, you're not running a waterfall in a touring.
I hope not.
I mean, you could be, but
makes it sporty.
Yes, makes it sporty. I said, on a little aside, I ran the Moose a few years ago, and Ken Whiting and Kevin Moret ran it in the sea kayaks.
Wow,
it was impressive.
That is very impressive.
Anyway, that does happen.
Yeah,
but
that's a little too sporty for my liking. Yeah. And now we'll get into the last portion of it. So it's rescue equipment. So you want to make sure that you have proper rescue equipment.
Just in case things go astray.
Totally. And this is also the guide in me speaking. You just want to make sure you have a throw bag with you. If you're a sea kayak guide, you want to make sure you have a tow line with you. You never know if you're especially guiding with a group of weaker paddlers, you might need to tow somebody. I've had to do it. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And especially if you're just doing it with a rope. So, we have tow lines that actually have bungees integrated in them, so it just makes it a little less
that pulling on your waist or your boat
absorbs it a little bit more. So you want to make sure you have that. So a few throw bags that we have here. Let's move this stuff out of the way. So we have So we've got our Hornet and Mosquito. It's like a bullet bag. This is the kind of bag that you'd want to have on you at all times, easily accessible. This is not something you want to have tucked in the back of your boat. This is something you either have in between your legs inside your boat, or as a guide, as a raft guide, I would have it on a quick release belt, and it would be on my hip. So whenever I needed to pull it out, boom, it was there and it was ready. Another pro tip for you, all throw bags before, I know a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just buy the bag at the
we
gear
had this
shop.
debate a couple days ago, how we're going to package our new boat, no bags.
Totally, and you just go into the store and you buy a throw bag and you think it's good to go. It's not good to go, okay? Make sure that you open it up, you flake the line out, make sure all the knots and stuff, flake it out. So you just unravel the whole rope.
You unravel the line.
And
flake it.
So you make sure you don't have any knots or kinks and stuff, because there's nothing worse than having to do a rescue and you have one shot at it with a throw bag and it just kind of falls 5 feet ahead of you.
Well, your 55-foot throw bag only goes 5 feet.
Exactly. Yeah. So make sure you unpack the bag and then repack it yourself. That way you have a peace of mind that you did it. That the gear will work properly. So we have the Mosquito and the Hornet, which are small bags, are bullet bags. Really great for having quick access rescue. The next thing we get into is our Dragonfly and Dragonfly Pro bags. So these are bigger bags. They're designed for more river rescue. So
65 feet.
Yep.
Versus 55 feet.
Yeah, and then between the two that you're seeing here, this one is a dynamic line. So it has a lot more stretch. I think it's 11% stretch threshold on it. And then in the Pro, this is more for rescue organizations. Firefighters use this kind of stuff. It's a static line. And a static line, the difference between dynamic line and static line is that static doesn't stretch. Or it has a very small stretch. So any like climbers or like, I worked on a bungee tower for a little while. We're always using static line for rappelling and stuff like that because there's no stretch to it. So those are the big two differences in the rope. Obviously static is a little bit more expensive, but you need these bigger bags, and they're for rescues, for pins, for more complex rescues. Or
also a higher diameter rope. These are 3/8 versus 1/4 inch.
So they work well with pin kits, so pulleys and carabiners and that whole gamut. So and if you're paddling, that gets us into kind of the pin kit side of things. We sell a pin kit called the Extraction Kit. Actually, it comes in a bag, but actually with your pin kit, another little pro tip is you can fit all that stuff, especially with life jackets now. There's pockets everywhere. So I have all like my carabiners kind of strewn all across my life jacket. I have my webbing in my pockets, and then I also have my pulleys in my pockets as well. And then this will be in the back of my boat, so that if there is a pin, I'm not relying, if my boat is pinned, my pin kit's not actually in the boat. It's actually on me as a person, and I can go ahead with the rescue. So that's another tip to consider is pin kits are better on the person than they are just stuffed in the back of your boat. So yeah, those are a few of the safety items that we sell. And then another big thing I want to mention is just first aid kits. You can make first aid kits, and you can a very basic first aid kit, and you put it in an Nalgene bottle. It's waterproof. Always
the same as this size as well. So
totally
it's easy.
Yeah, have a first aid kit on you. I can't stress that enough. Even I've been with my friends and you're doing like a PB&J sandwich with your river knife, and next thing you know, you slice your hand open and you don't have a first aid kit. So I don't hang out with the smartest people. Yeah. And I'm not that smart of a person either.
I was like, well,
that's why I work here.
Before Pat takes his last day on the job, we also don't forget if you go paddling with your throw bag, you dry the rope. Same classic thing, you know, you leave it in your stinky boat that you probably swam because you're paddling with Pat, and your boat is wet, your rope is wet, and then now you put it in your gear bag and it just festers away. We do put in mesh breathable panels in all of our high-end throw bags to aid in that, but still, it's always good to
flake it out.
Flake it out. Lay it out on the ground, or actually even lay it out on a clothesline, just to get it to dry, because it lasts better. And also, don't do it in the sun. I mean, it's a classic. You know, this is polypropylene rope, so it's super UV resistant, but still, I mean, this is your life-saving device.
Think about yourself. Like, you wear sunscreen because of the fact that you'll burn, right? So it's the same thing with any of your gear, right? So you don't just leave it in the sun. Don't forget that. So that basically is our spring checklist. Another thing is check your boat. We don't have any boats here, but check your boat. Make sure that another thing with the spray skirts that I forgot to mention is if you buy a brand new boat, make sure your skirt actually fits on the brand new boat. The amount of people that are like, I've talked to that are like, I bought a brand new boat and I actually needed a cockpit size larger in my spray skirt. So you want to make sure that your boat is good. I used to store my boat when I was working as a raft guide, and there would always be like it's stored in the winter in the shed, and there would be like raccoons and stuff that like eat all the outfitting and mice and stuff, and I've definitely pulled my boat out and there's just like big raccoon turds hanging out in so just make sure your boat is good to go.
You made a good point there too, is if you do change boats, I mean, the beautiful thing about rubber randed skirts is that they do mold to your cockpit. The more you use them, the natural rubber kind of softens in areas, so it creates a perfect seal for that boat over time. But then if you upgrade to or change boats and a different cockpit rim, that rubber band skirt may not be the best fit anymore. So just always double check that stuff before you get to the river.
Make sure it fits.
Especially if that river is a far trip away.
Totally. There was one time I did a trip in Utah and I forgot my skirt. And I had to drive like 2 hours back through this like horrible road. We had to replace 2 tires on the way in there. It was just a big mess. So just make sure you have all your gear with you. There's probably a few people, if they listen to this, are probably going to laugh. I was pretty embarrassed at the time. So just make sure your gear is good to go. That's the big thing. Like I said, spring paddling can be intense. So you want to make sure that your gear is up to snuff and ready to handle it, because you may not be on your best game after a whole winter of hibernating or skiing or whatever. So
I have a question from Matt Tucker asking, how does the Creek Boot 2.0 differ from the original Creek Boot?
Hi Matt, by the way.
First question, I love it. I
love you, buddy. Matt is from West Virginia. He is a big level 6 supporter. He's an awesome guy. I met him at Golly Fest.
Email in?
I did, actually.
God,
invoices, it's coming, so you're actually going to pay for it.
I would say the biggest improvements we made between the two is we have a nylon shank on the bottom, so it's stiffer. We added a lot more support to the ankle and the heel area. The old Creek Boot had, actually, where's the river boot? It had this style of webbing to kind of keep the neoprene tight.
So elastic.
Which is great for a low profile shoe, but as you want a bit more structure to the Creek Boot 2.0, we added this bungee lace system that's a one pull toggle, which brings all the neoprene in at once. So stiffer sole, more structure and more structure and stability in the ankle and the heel, and then more uniform closure system along the whole length of it.
Totally.
Yeah. Same high end neoprene, same same closure system on the top. We added this extra Velcro, just kind of really cinch it down. If you're going for a big swim because you're paddling with Pat and he can't rescue you, then this keeps it snug on you.
I'm definitely not going to rescue you now.
Yeah, I know.
Because you're definitely going to swim.
But I don't swim.
Sure.
It also looks badass.
Yeah, and actually, it looks great too. But, I mean, apart from the aesthetics, which is certainly something that we always think about here, I would say for sure stiffness in the sole, more structure to the heel and ankle.
Yeah. Shout out to the Black Sheep crew. You guys are awesome. And West Virginia. I can't wait to go back down there. Hopefully I'll be out there this September. Actually, I won't be. I'm getting married, so I won't be. But we'll send somebody down.
Golly River.
They're not going to be as cool as I am, but we're definitely going to have level 6 people down there for Golly Fest.
Yeah.
Golly is awesome, and West Virginia
river.
is just wicked in general. I actually love West Virginia. So Matt, thank you for the question.
Yes.
Question period is kind of opening up now, so if you have any questions, feel free to just sprinkle them in. But Jesse, do we have any questions?
Not right now. You can talk about the beer. I love that.
I'm going to do one last recap.
Yeah, please.
So just basically, spring checklist. You need to make sure your gear is latex gaskets are solid. There's no mildew or mold on the inside. The zipper, open and close your zipper. Treat it with some lube if you need to. If you didn't clean it when you put it away, probably should clean it now.
Yep.
Get your season off to a good start.
On that note,
cut me off. God,
sorry.
Ramble.
On that note, if you're a ocean paddler, if you're somebody who's in the ocean, saltwater is actually
saltwater.
Yeah, saltwater. Just make sure to rinse your gear after using it in the ocean. So there are some sea kayakers that will use their dry suits. The salt water actually like kind of crystallizes on the nylon and it kind of
creates those channels.
Yeah,
it breaks it down.
It messes with the pores on the actual Teflon membrane. So rinse all your gear after using the ocean. Rinse it with fresh water. Just take a hose to it, rinse it off. That's a good way to make sure that it stays that the integrity stays there. So.
Well, on the whole rinse and repeat thing, same thing with a lot of people do pool sessions.
Oh, chlorine,
The chlorine, the same thing. Chlorine is
acidic.
Brutal.
Yeah,
brutal for spray neoprene, nylons. You don't wear a dry suit obviously in the pool, but you see a lot in spray skirts.
Yeah.
People, they don't rinse them, and the chlorine just eats away at that glue and the fabric. So.
Yeah, it's just so acidic, right? So like think about how your eyes burn.
Especially public pools.
Yeah.
They hypershock them.
Yeah, and all the pee in those pools too. I'm a pool pisser.
I bet. I knew it. I knew you would.
Don't go swimming with me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Don't go paddling with Pat, basically.
Yeah. But keep going with your recap.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, another one
from Simon. Says
Simon.
Neoprene hoodie,
Simon who?
Simon Blaze.
Sick name.
Good name.
He's a porn star.
Is a neoprene hoodie good for immersion, or is it mostly used to use dry?
Our neoprene hoodie. So you're probably talking about our Jericho hoodie. We also make a Sombrio hoodie. Was that you said hoodie, right, Jesse?
Like the hooded jacket?
The neoprene hoodie. It's probably Jericho or Sombrio.
Yeah. So what I actually use mine for is it's for stand-up paddleboarding is what we originally designed it for. So the type of neoprene is called Eco Stretch neoprene. It's a limestone-based neoprene.
I have it right here.
If you want to grab it. So I would pair that with an actual long sleeve neoprene top underneath it. And this this top is essentially, if you fall in, it's going to have warming properties to it.
Right.
It's going to have insulating properties to it. So that's the big thing why we designed it. I actually use mine for like takeout. When I get to the end of the river as a whitewater paddler and I'm like kind of wet and I don't have a towel, I'll just throw that on and it absorbs the water and I'm warm.
Yeah.
But so it was originally, it's a 0.5 millimeter neoprene. It's originally designed for if you fall in and it's like a cooler morning.
Doesn't ruin your day. You just get back on. We
exactly.
Sell a lot of stand-up paddleboarders. There's a huge group of people who go every morning here in the Ottawa and they do a 6 a.m. sup yoga session.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are wearing this. I mean, we do a women's capri and a short and a men's pant and a men's short. So if you do happen to fall in, you're not going, okay, see you guys next week. It's to get back on their board and they're warm again.
Yeah.
The heat retention, this stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
We actually line it with a really cool proprietary lining that gets the moisture off your skin so you dry out super quick.
Yeah.
But this is not a kayaking, like a sea kayaking or whitewater kayaking top.
Yeah.
It's a supboarding. It is a recreational paddling top where you're not going to be like flipping over and rolling back up again.
And you're not going to be using this like when the ice is just getting off the water, right? Like you need like a 3 mil minimum wetsuit material or neoprene material for that. So this is more like May, June when the water is still cold but the air is kind of warm. That's generally what I use it for.
I don't want to go in the weeds too much, but I'm going to talk about one of my favorite, this is classic Ottawa.
Yeah.
June, July paddling attire.
Totally.
The water's so beautiful. It's a bit, it's like 15 degrees. The temperature is 20, 25. you don't necessarily need a paddling dry top, because you don't care if you get wet. So I used to always paddle in a long sleeve or short sleeve neoprene top. Super stretchy, zero restriction. Yeah, water's going to get inside your boat because there's no double tunnel, but who cares? It's so nice out there. You just sponge your boat out, and it's drop pool. It's
more like the air is a little bit cold, but the water is warm, and that's when you're wearing that Jericho. And for the women, it's called the Sombrio line.
So for as immersion, for sure, the hoodie's a bit too loose, but our short sleeve, long sleeve, it's a compression fit, perfect, classic East Coast paddling attire.
So hopefully that answered your question there, Simon. So that's kind of what we have. Did you want to keep going with the recap? Is there anything else?
I totally lost my train of thought.
Way to go, guys.
Classic Larson.
Classic. I don't even know.
So let's get into our beer review. What did you think of the beer so far?
Honestly,
yay or nay?
It's a yay for sure.
Of course.
I would say, like, I didn't used to like IPAs like 5-6 years ago. Maybe because I'm getting older. I'm really into the IPAs now.
That you are.
And that sour, you got introduced to that sour beer.
Yep.
I don't know, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And now I love IPAs, and this is an IPA, and it's wicked.
It's pretty dry. What I like the first.
It has a harsh taste.
Yeah. So it's got a classic IPA taste. It's definitely not overwhelming. It's not like a double IPA or that, some of the microbrews that you're seeing. It's definitely palatable. Like Sig said, he's not an IPA guy. I'm like
sorry, I wasn't an IPA guy.
Oh, now you are.
I like IPAs now.
I'm more of like
this IPA.
A one IPA kind of guy. That's usually my rule. One or two.
Can can closer?
Oh, God, Jesse.
Yeah.
Matt Tucker says the can looks dope, but it's far away, so we can't see it.
Yeah, they have awesome artwork. Can you see that, Matt?
Back it up just a bit there.
Oh, nasty. So.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. Look, I'm not that much of a beer connoisseur. I don't think I've ever had a beer that I don't like. But there's beers that I like a lot more. So, and this falls underneath that category. I would definitely go and pick up if you're in the Ontario or in Canada. They're actually across Canada now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
They're one of like the top microbreweries in Canada now. Yeah. So they sell them at LCBOs. They sell them at beer stores, grocery stores.
Yeah, we're entering the new age now.
Hopefully those corner stores.
Ontario.
Yeah, thank you, Dougie.
Buy beer. Also, as well, I mean, if you live somewhere where they can't get this, and we're on a road tour to a festival or to a trade show, say, could you please pick me up some icebreaker? We'll put it in the back of the van and we'll drop it off.
Order this online; they'll deliver it straight to your door.
But if you're in the U.S., they can't.
No.
Can you ship across? I don't know. We should ask Chris about that.
Should ask Chris.
Doubtful you get across the border with liquid, but
hopefully they'll be breaking into the U.S. market soon. We can help out with that. So that's kind of our beer review. They've got this is one of their seasonal beers. So this is their spring seasonal. Few beers to check out would be like the Farmer's Daughter, the Class 5 IPA, the Whistling Paddler, their Midnight Stout. Those are kind of their go-to beers that they always have in stock all the time.
We drank the peanut butter and chocolate one this week.
Really
it was really good too.
Actually, legitimately tastes like chocolate and peanut butter.
That's a good one. I think that would be. I could probably have 2 of those as a max.
It's a dessert beer. Yeah, for sure. That's the Whitewater Brewery beer review. Hopefully we'll get better at them as we go. We don't know too much about beer other than we really like to drink it.
And they're great
beer.
And they're great guys.
They're great guys. I used to live with them.
Yeah.
I've known Chris, and James for a long time. We worked as raft guides together on the Ottawa. I was actually there when they started the brewery. When they came back from their Grand Canyon trip, that's where they came up with the idea, and then they were like, "Okay, we're gonna start a brewery," and they started in a garage. I was one of their official beer testers to start. It was good. It was good. Thank you very much to the Whitewater Brewery for supplying the beer. Hopefully we'll get Chris in here at some point. I was hanging out with him last week, and he said he'd love to come in for an interview. It'd be cool to just get his story. He's an interesting cat, and just get more knowledge on the beer. It
was actually interesting. I was thinking about this. Someone asked me about. People ask. I do these little talks or lectures at different schools and stuff about how I got to where I am, and I just started thinking about. I think it was yesterday or the day before driving into work, and like how the Chris's started Whitewater Brewery, and how when Todd and I started Level 6. both came from like a paddling background, the whole risk adversity thing, and how you try to figure out, when you're running a class,
how to mitigate risk.
How to mitigate risk.
Yeah.
And then, so does that, being a paddler, does that, does that open up your risk level to be opening up your own company, taking that risk? I mean, I don't know. There's probably something to it because there's enough paddlers who started something.
Yeah, I think you have like more of a affinity to look at risk objectively and look at it as like what's attainable, what's realistic, and what can I control and what can I control or can't I control. So it's like whenever you're running a new rapid for example, you're looking at the multiple moves in it. Can I make that one move? Yep. And if there's one move I can't make in that rapid, or that I have doubt that I'll make, I'll just walk away and I'll walk around it, right? So it's kind of the same thing with business. I mean, I'm not a business owner by any means, but
I'd be curious to talk to the Chris's about that and see if they feel the same. I think there's something to it.
Totally.
I don't know what it is, but I think there's something to it.
Or you guys just grew up around those cats, and cat piss or cat poo apparently just makes you more open to risk. So, so they say. But that's the liquid lunch for April. What is it? April 5th.
I feel like it's worth mentioning, since we have it on the go, the kayak fishing sweepstakes, just out of the blue.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So, Jesse, I don't know if you can hear Jesse.
Yeah, you can definitely hear. I'm going to put it up on the screen.
Okay, so yeah, we have a sweepstakes going on for the ultimate kayak fishing package. We teamed up with a bunch of different brands. I don't know them all off the top of my head. Our marketing manager, Kevin, definitely does, so don't hold that against me. But
all great brands, though.
They're all really great brands.
Seriously.
But yeah, so you can sign up on our website. You can find the links on our social media. So it's up on the screen. There you go. Thank you, Jesse.
10,000 entries in the past 4 days.
So keep entering, and you can get more entries for following us and stuff like that. But yeah, you have the chance to win a package. I think it's like $1,800 worth of stuff. And if you're
not just like okay stuff, of like great stuff.
Yeah.
Like Aquabound, Salus, like
Flambeau and Yak Attack.
Any branches.
There's
a new paddle.
There's a ton of stuff. And the funny thing is, it's, I'm not sure people who know how this industry is or not, but we all know each other. We go to the same trade shows. We're all pals. This is not like iPhone versus Samsung. Like we are there. We're drinking beers together.
Yeah.
And our idea is to grow this industry.
We're better when we work together.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So anyways, that's happening.
So sign up for our fishing sweepstakes. It's an awesome package. And if you know somebody who's super into kayak fishing, get them to sign up. Or win it for yourself. So check that out on our social media. It's also on our website. And next week, we're actually on the topic of kayak fishing, or not next week, next month. We're going to bring one of our ambassadors in, Roberto. He's a kayak fisher or fishing guru. And so we'll do a whole episode with him, but we'll announce that later, probably a couple weeks ahead of time, and we'll get some questions and stuff. Hopefully you guys can send us some questions that they have for Roberto.
And he's actually even crazier. We are part of a new level 6 team member, like as internal office. Ashley Ray just is starting next Thursday.
What's her website? SheLovesToFish.com.
That's right. It's like 71,000 followers amongst all of her different social media. 500,000 blog views on her website.
Excited to have her start.
She is coming on board at level 6, handling sales and really growing our fishing market for us, and kind of tons of input on how we can make our current fishing line even better.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm super excited to have her, and I think we should bring her on.
We will.
With Roberto as well.
We will. We're gonna cast you to the side, and we're gonna bring Ashley in.
Please do.
Thank you very much for tuning in. For those of you who have tuned in, if you haven't tuned in, this is gonna be on our YouTube page. We're gonna share it on Facebook. Check it out. There's a lot of good information here, and if you have any other questions, like I said, email us, Instagram, Facebook. We're happy to answer the questions, either myself, Stig, or one of the other Level 6 team members here. We're all super knowledgeable, and we'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to Whitewater Brewery for the Icebreaker IPA. So look for this. It's really delicious, and looking forward to our next liquid lunch. That's going to be a month from now, so I think it's first Friday of May is what we're aiming for. And we love you guys, and
please hate tweet us. I'm going to invent some hate tweets. Is that one right now? Oh,
egging on the hate
Pat.
tweets.
Pat, why?
Why do you swim so much?
Do you swim so much?
Don't swim very much. I'm probably going to swim this year. We're all,
for sure
unlike Stig, I'm fully aware of the fact that we're all in between swims. I haven't swam in a while, but it'll probably happen. It happens to all of us. Happens to the best of us.
For sure. Pat Camlin called me a couple days ago. He wants to go paddling next week with me, so
You're
I'm probably
going
going to swim
Pat,
for sure.
It's a good thing.
Pat and Joel,
I won't be there to rescue you. That's all I'm going to say because you were mean today. Thank you very much, guys. We really love you, and hopefully we can interact with you guys on the next round. And happy Friday.
Yep.
Enjoy the weekend. Oh. Enjoy the paddling. God. And we love you guys.
That's it.